What's going on, Not Move Nation? Welcome to the Not Move podcast. Today is February 8th at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll be talking about these NBA games on today. We only have 4 games on today, so it should be a pretty quick show. Thank you to the supporters, subscribers, followers. We really appreciate you guys. Also, thank you to the sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right, let's cover the injuries first. It looks like Tyler Harrow for the Miami Heat is going to probably be out today with a ribs issue. Darius Garland for the Clippers out due to a toe slash recently traded uh, thing going on there. And I'm not sure if Matherin is going to be playing for the Clippers today as well, or Isaiah Jackson. You may want to check that before game time. Um, Terrence Shannon for Minnesota is out with a foot issue, and he's missed the past couple of weeks. Zubox for Indiana is out with an ankle issue. Larson for Miami, doubtful with an elbow issue. Josh Hart for the Knicks, questionable with an ankle. OG Ananobi for the Knicks, questionable with a toe. Karl Anthony Towns, New York Knicks, questionable with an eye issue. Sam Hauser for Boston, questionable with a back issue. Norman Powell for Miami, questionable with a hand issue. Trey Johnson for Washington, questionable with an ankle issue. George for Washington was out yesterday with a knee issue, so he's more than likely questionable to play today. Koulibaly for Washington is probably questionable due to a lower back issue. Considering that he didn't play yesterday, he's probably questionable today. Alex Sarr for Washington did not play yesterday either with an ankle issue and should be considered questionable today. Jaden Hardy for Washington didn't play yesterday, but he could make his Wizards debut today. He was recently traded there. Same with D'Angelo Russell for Washington. He didn't play yesterday, but, we'll see if he makes his debut today. He was recently traded as well. Neesmith for Indiana, questionable with an elbow issue. Quickly for Toronto, questionable with an ankle issue. Pirtle for Toronto, questionable with a back issue. And then Bam Adebayo for Miami is probable with a hip issue. First game, we have the Knicks at Celtics. Knicks 1-game losing streak. Boston Celtics 5-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Boston has won one regular season game in a row against the Knicks and have won the last 4 out of 5 regular season meetings against the Knicks. These teams have played each other twice this season, and the first meeting was in New York. This matchup today is in Boston, but that first meeting was on October 24th, and the Knicks won 105-95. But the most recent meeting between these teams was on December 2nd, which Boston won that game 123-117. That game was in Boston, like it is here today. The Knicks do have a 7-1 money line record on Sundays this season. Boston has a 6-2 money line record on Sundays this season. These teams actually played on this exact date in this exact location last season. Boston ended up winning that game 131-104. And then the Knicks have lost on February 8th in the past 3 times that they've played any team on February 8th. And then Boston has won on February 8th the past 4 times that they've played any team on February 8th. Jaylen Brown for the Celtics has a 15-6 career record against Karl Anthony Towns. Jaylen Brown also has a 15-11 career record against Brunson and a 16-11 career record against Josh Hart. I saw that Pritchard has an 11-6 career record against Karl Anthony Towns. When I checked this morning at about 5:12 a.m. Eastern time, I saw that Boston was favored by 3.5, over under 215.5. I see that the spread is still the same here on DK, but the line has dropped from 215.5 to 214.5 on that over under. Then I looked at 3 different against the spread trends. Boston wins all of those trends. Boston has the 7th best record against the spread this season. The Knicks have the 9th best. And then the Knicks as a road underdog, they're 3-5 against the spread as a road underdog, which ranks fourth worst in the NBA. Boston has a 9-11 against the spread record as a home favorite, but due to winning percentage, Boston wins that as well. And then the Knicks are 7-11 against the spread after a loss, which ranks second worst in the NBA. Boston 18-15 against the spread after a win, which ranks sixth best in the NBA. So Boston advantage there. Boston wins all of those three against the spread trends. Both of these teams are above average in regards to team defensive efficiency, which really just measures how good or bad a defense is. The lower the number is, the better, the higher, the worse. So Boston ranked sixth in team defensive efficiency. The Knicks ranked 13th in that category. Both of these teams are really good at defending against points in the paint per game. Boston ranks second best in that category. The Knicks rank fourth best in that category. Boston's real good at preventing fast break points. They rank fourth best. The Knicks are also above average in that category. What these teams are vulnerable at is defending against the three-point shot. Both of them. They both are tied in 24th place of the NBA in three-point field goals allowed per game. So I think, guys like Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges could take advantage of that today for the New York Knicks, considering that Brunson leads the Knicks in three-point field goals made per game and ranks 18th best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. Mikal Bridges ranks 47th best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game and second best on the Knicks. And then guys for Boston who could, I could see taking advantage of that are going to be Derek White, who leads the team in three-point field goals made per game, ranks 19th best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. Peyton Pritchard ranks 27th best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. And then Hauser, who ranks 29th in that category. Both of these teams are above average in defending against assists per game to opposing teams and rebounds. I did notice that the Knicks send their opponents to the free throw line more than league average. They rank 18th in that category. So Jaylen Brown is the leader for the Celtics in free throw attempts per game and ranks 13th best in the NBA. And then I also just wanted to mention that Jaylen Brown has had a triple-double in one of his last 25 career games against the Knicks here. All right. Obviously, there's a lot of other information that you guys can look at. We talked about it yesterday. You could look at who the best defenders and the worst defenders are in the NBA. You could look at recent history if you're thinking about player props, what this player has done in the last 10 or 20 games or this whole season against every team that they've played. How a player performs against another player on the opposing team. So, just all types of stuff that you guys could look at, but hopefully that's a good foundation for you guys to begin your day. And then we have Miami at Washington. Miami's on a 2-game losing streak, and Washington is on a 1-game losing streak. Miami did not play yesterday, but Washington did. Washington has won one regular season game in a row against Miami, but before that, Miami had won 4 regular season games in a row against Washington. These teams have not played against each other this season. Miami has a 5-3 money line record on Sundays this season. Washington has a 3-5 money line record on Sundays this season. Bam Adebayo for Miami has a 3-0 career record against Alex Sarr. Wiggins for Miami has a 2-0 career record against Sarr. And I did notice that today is Alonzo Mourning's birthday, who used to play with Miami. So anyways, when I checked at about 5:15 a.m. Eastern time this morning, I saw that Miami was favored by 11.5, over under 235.5, and that line has not changed. I'm still seeing the same thing here on DK. Against the spread trends, I looked at 4 different ones. Miami wins those trends 3-1 Miami has the sixth best against the spread record in the NBA. Washington has the fourth worst. And then Miami is 4-2 against the spread as a road favorite, which ranks third best in the NBA. Washington is 11-12 against the spread as a home underdog, which ranks eighth worst in the NBA. So Miami advantage there. And then Miami is 18-7 against the spread after a loss, which ranks third best in the NBA. Whereas Washington is 500. They're 18-18 against the spread after a loss. So another Miami advantage there. The one against the spread trend advantage that I see for Washington today is that they have a better against the spread record with rest disadvantage since they didn't play, or since Miami didn't play yesterday. Washington has rest disadvantage. They're 4-5 against the spread with rest disadvantage. Miami's 3-5 with rest advantage. So overall, yeah, Miami wins those trends 3-1. Both of these teams are vulnerable to points in the paint allowed per game. But before I get into that, I just want to mention that Washington ranks second worst in the NBA in team defensive efficiency. So this is a bad defensive team. Miami ranks fifth best in the NBA in that category. Let's talk about Washington's defense or lack thereof. Washington ranks 26th in points in the paint allowed per game, according to teamrankings.com. Okay. They rank 26th worst in the NBA in points in the paint allowed per game. Jaquez is the leader for Miami in points in the paint per game. He ranks 27th best in the NBA in that category. And then Tyler Harrow ranks 32nd best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. Washington ranks 20th in fast break points allowed per game, so they're slightly below average at defending against those fast break points. Norman Powell is the leader for Miami in fast break points per game, followed up by, he ranks 13th best in the NBA, followed up by Tyler Harrow, who ranks 27th, and then Andrew Wiggins, who ranks 41st. Washington is below average at defending against the three-point shot. They rank 20th in three-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams, according to teamrankings.com. Norman Powell is the leader for Miami in three-point field goals made per game and ranks 21st best in the NBA in that category. If you guys were thinking about assist props for Miami Heat players today, Washington does allow the second most assists per game to opposing teams. Davion Mitchell is the leader for Miami in assists per game. He ranks 8th best in the NBA. And then Jaquez ranks 42nd best in the NBA, second on the team. Also, Washington allows the most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Bam Adebayo, leader for Miami in rebounds per game. He ranks 9th best in the NBA. And then Khalil Ware ranks 11th. Washington also sends their opponents to the free throw line the fourth most times out of any team in the league, the fourth most. So Norman Powell is the leader for Miami in free throw attempts per game, ranks 26th in the NBA. And then Bam Adebayo ranks 34th. So I think if you guys are interested in, taking those guys, either one of those guys for the points, going over their point total today. I'm not sure what it's at, but I do think you have an added benefit with that. Obviously, things could get out of hand. Considering that the spread is considering that the spread is, Miami's favored by 11.5. That's, if they're up by 30 points going into the fourth quarter, many of the Miami Heat starters might not be playing. If you're interested in guys like Jaquez, I would maybe look at how Washington defends against bench points, points per game allowed to bench players. And let's talk about Miami here. They are below average at defending against points in the paint per game. They rank 22nd in that category. From my understanding, Anthony Davis won't be playing for Washington for the season, but if Alex Sarr does play today, He is the leader for Washington in points in the paint per game and ranks 21st best in the NBA in that category. And then Miami slightly above average in fast break points allowed per game. They rank 14th in that category, but I still wanted to get you guys, the fact that Cam Whitmore ranks 15th best in the NBA in fast break points per game, first on the team, followed up by Trae Young, who I don't think is playing today either. Um, I don't think he has a timetable for his return. So if you like anybody for Washington today, for Washington today, with the 3-point shot, Miami is below average at defending against the 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams, but I didn't find anybody for Washington in the top 50 of the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then Miami ranks 26th in assists allowed per game. So they're near the bottom of the league in allowing assists per game. Keyshawn George for Washington ranks 35th best in the NBA, first on the team in assists per game, followed up by Bub Carrington, who ranks 45th best in the NBA in assists per game. And then Alex Sarr, once again, Miami ranks 26th in rebounds allowed per game. So they're close to the bottom of the league in allowing rebounds to opposing teams. Alex Sarr ranks first on the team, 26th best in the NBA in rebounds allowed per game. And also, I did notice that Washington turns the ball over a lot. They turn the ball over per game, the fourth most out of any team in the league. And Miami's pretty good at forcing turnovers. They rank 7th in turnovers forced per game. So I think that could be troublesome for Washington today. And then I just wanted to mention that I saw that Bam Adebayo has not had a triple-double in his last 25 career games against Washington. Then we got 2 more games to break down, guys. Indiana at Toronto. Indiana is on a 3-game losing streak. Toronto, 1-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Toronto has won 3 regular season games in a row against Indiana and have won the last 4 out of 5 regular season games against Indiana. Siakam is a player for Indiana now, and he used to play for Toronto. So if you want to look at this as a revenge game for him, he did used to play for the team that he's playing against today. Toronto has beat Indiana all 3 meetings that they've played this season. The first game was in Indiana. The game today is in Toronto, but the first game was in Indiana. Toronto won 129-111. The second game they played at, it was in Toronto, like it is today. And Toronto barely won 97-95. But the most recent game was on January 14th that these teams have played against each other. And that game was, I didn't write in my notes where it was played, but it was on January 14th. If you're interested in looking at that box score, and Toronto won that game 115-101. Indiana has a 0-4 money line record on Sundays this season, and Toronto has a 6-5 money line record on Sundays this season. Indiana has lost 6 straight games on February 8th against any team that they've played against. Toronto has won 4 straight games that they've played any team on February 8th. Scotty Barnes for Toronto has a 5-1 career record against Siakam. And Scotty Barnes also scored his career high in points against Indiana on December 3rd, 2024. And that game was also in Toronto like it is today. So if you do like Scotty Barnes for points today, you have that historical aspect that is in your favor here again today. I believe it was 35 was the point total, his career high point total. I think he actually did it twice, not just against Indiana, but a different team as well. When I checked this morning at about 5:15 a.m. Eastern time, Toronto was favored by 9.5. Looking at it now, Toronto's minus 8.5. The over-under stayed the same. The total, it's 224.5. Looked at 3 different against the spread trends. Indiana wins those trends 2-1. Indiana has a better against the spread record by than Toronto, kind of by default here. Indiana's 26-26 against the spread. Toronto's 26-27, so it's pretty close there. And then Indiana is 9-13 against the spread as a road underdog. Toronto 7-12 against the spread as a home favorite. Indiana wins that trend due to win percentage. And then Toronto does have the ninth the ninth best against the spread record after a win this season. Indiana has the 7th worst, so I'll give Toronto the advantage there, but overall Indiana that 2-1 advantage. Toronto's a pretty good defensive team. They rank 7th best in the NBA in team defensive efficiency. Indiana ranks 21st. So Indiana allows the 3rd most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. Scotty Barnes is the leader for Toronto in points in the paint per game. He ranks 20th best in the NBA, followed by R.J. Barrett, who ranks 42nd best in the NBA in that category. Indiana is actually pretty good at defending against fast break points. They rank 8th best in that. They're the best team in the league against the 3-point shot. They rank 1st in 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. They limit assists to opposing teams pretty well. They rank 8th best in that, but rebounds allowed per game, they rank 29th. So, Scotty Barnes could, is a guy I think that could take advantage of that today. Obviously, there's more research to do, but, Scotty Barnes does rank 1st on the team and 21st in the NBA in rebounds per game. I think something to consider though is that Pirtle may be coming back today for Toronto, which he's their center who could eat up some rebounds. So let's see here. Indiana they allow the 2nd most free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. Brandon Ingram for Toronto ranks 1st on the team and for Toronto in free throw attempts per game, 33rd best in the NBA, followed up by Scotty Barnes, who ranks 39th best in the NBA in that category. I don't have any players really listed here for Indiana, considering that Toronto is good at defending against everything. I mean, they rank 8th best in points in the paint allowed per game, 3rd best in fast break points allowed per game, 12th in 3-point field goals allowed per game. So I think if Indiana, wants to hang around today, I think, maybe zoning in on that 3-point shot could be where they could do that at, considering Toronto is just slightly above average at defending that per game. But Toronto, they rank 3rd best in defending against assists per game, and then 10th in rebounds allowed per game. Toronto does rank 22nd in opponent free throw attempts per game, so they're below average at that. Out of all those categories, that's their biggest flaw. Siakam is the leader for Indiana in points, free throw attempts per game, and then Nembhard ranks 37th in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Then I did notice that Scotty Barnes has had a triple-double in 1 out of 13 career games against Indiana and 1 out of 6 career games against Siakam. And the last game that we have here today is the Los Angeles Clippers at Minnesota Timberwolves. The Clippers are on a 1-game win streak. The Timberwolves on a 1-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Minnesota has won 5 regular season games in a row against the Clippers and have won the last 9 out of 10 regular season games against the Clippers. Minnesota has already beat them in the only game that they've played this season. They played on December 6th. That game was at Minnesota, like it is here today. And Minnesota won by 3 points by a final score of 109-106. The Clippers have a 4-2 moneyline record on Sundays this season, and Minnesota has a 7-1 moneyline record on Sundays this season. Minnesota has also won 4 games in a row that they've played on February 8th in games that they've played against any team in the NBA. And I did notice that Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers has an 11-6 career record against Julius Randle, who plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I checked this line at about 5:15 a.m. Eastern time. I saw Minnesota was favored by 8.5. That seems to be the case as well right now. The over/under was 223.5 at that time. It's dropped down to 222.5. I looked at three different against the spread trends, and the Clippers win all of those trends. The Clippers do have the 10th worst against the spread record in the NBA, but Minnesota has the sixth worst. So Minnesota has the worst against the spread record. The Clippers are 9-8 against the spread as a road underdog. So they have a winning record as a road underdog. The Timberwolves have a losing record, 9-13 against the spread as a home favorite, which ranks ninth worst in the NBA. And the Clippers are 12-11 against the spread after a win, which ranks 10th best in the NBA. And Minnesota has a 10-10 against the spread record after a loss. So I do give the Clippers the against the spread trend advantages there. The Clippers rank 20th in team defensive efficiency, so they're below average defense in that regard. They're pretty good at limiting points in the paint per game. That could change with Zubac being gone now, you know. So if teams have made big trades, let's see, you know, if that defense stays the same or not. I would expect like Utah's defense to be better with Jaren Jackson Jr. And maybe the Clippers defense in regards to points in the paint allowed per game. I'm not sure how Brook Lopez defends against that, but anyways, it's something to think about, you know. So yeah, the Clippers they are above average in limiting points in the paint per game. They rank ninth, but they rank 21st in fast break points allowed per game. So they're slightly below average at defending against that. Anthony Edwards is the leader for Minnesota in fast break points per game. He ranks 11th best in the NBA. And then Dosunmu now, the new Minnesota Timberwolf, is technically the second man in line that leads the NBA for this team in fast break points per game. He ranks 18th in that category. The Clippers are also slightly below average at defending against three-point field goals to opposing teams per game. They rank 19th in that category. Anthony Edwards ranks first on the team and fifth best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game, followed by DiVincenzo, who ranks 11th best in the NBA, and Naz Reid, who ranks 33rd. Let's see. I think that's about all I have to say about the Clippers defense. You know, they do rank 10th in assists allowed per game, so above average at limiting that, and fourth best in rebounds allowed per game. But, you know, some of these things could change with the Clippers considering Zubac's not there anymore. So let's just keep an eye out for that in the upcoming days. And then Minnesota, they're slightly below average in points in the paint allowed per game. So Kawhi Leonard is the leader for the team and the only guy on the Clippers who ranks in the top 50 of the NBA in points in the paint per game. He ranks 35th in that category. Minnesota's good at defending against fast break points per game. They rank 10th best in the NBA. Same with three-point field goals. They rank 7th best in the NBA. Minnesota defends against assists per game pretty well. They rank 11th best. They're average at rebounds allowed per game, but I didn't see anybody for the Clippers right now who rank in the top 50 of the NBA in rebounds per game. So if you do find somebody for the Clippers that you like on the rebounds, I could see them possibly taking advantage of that. Not necessarily a big vulnerability here with the Timberwolves, but they're average, you know, at defending against those rebounds per game to opposing teams. I don't know if I mentioned, but Minnesota does rank 10th in team defensive efficiency, so they are above average in that regard. And then, you know, a flaw here for Minnesota is that they allow their opponents to get their to the free throw line pretty often per game. They rank 24th in opponent free throw attempts per game. So Kawhi Leonard could take advantage of that today because he ranks first on the team and 16th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Then I saw that Julius Randle has not had a triple-double in 0 of his last 25 games against the Clippers. But All right. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Uh, Good luck with your picks today. Obviously, there's a lot of information that you could still do research on, but I just wanted to get on here, give you a foundation to work with for today. Also, thank you to our sponsors: BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Gold, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right. Good luck, everybody. Take care.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.